a good morning to you. Welcome to my testimony right here on KTN Home and BTV, definitely on Sunday best. It's good to have you. Thank you for joining us. We bring you amazing testimonies of people who've gone through issues, but out of their tests have emerged amazing testimonies. And today we have one very heart-wrenching story, a story of grief.
And just the time I was received Jesus as my personal savior, no one actually led me to Christ. I heard the voice, and because I had the experience of knowing that God had something very peculiar for us.
Right.
And when I went to see my wife in the morning, after that, I just said, well, you are very strong. And we really appreciate for this wonderful baby. And we knew that she would be a wonderful baby and a great blessing to us, even from the beginning. Because, and when she grew up, she was actually big, so to speak. Then she would actually catch and all of a sudden a call comes in. And as usually I don't normally pick calls in somebody's office. Then I ask him, excuse me, sir, can I thinking,
Same
if I
thing.
take an Uber or a taxi, and this particular road is clogged, so how do I reach there?
Yeah.
So a few minutes later, she calls me back and tells me, I've seen Season.
Right.
He is okay. He's all right. Then he says he has seen City. It's like she has come out of the debris,
Right.
and it is like she has fallen, and she was picked and to be taken to hospital, but she wasn't sure. And and then tell her, just walk around, see,
Just keep checking.
keep checking the health
Yeah.
centers around there, around Gando. Then I tell her, And I remember that time, then I realized I only had 30 shillings in my pocket.
Right.
And now 30 shillings, I'm not even thinking of M-Pesa. I'm not even thinking of an ATM. And also part of this money, it is actually my daughter who had given me some money on Sunday afternoon.
The previous day.
The previous afternoon, because the program actually went late and I could not go to do a transaction.
Yes.
And because she was saving all through. She was a very good saver. She could save, and she told me, "Okay, Dad, let me give you this." And then I told her, after I finish up my transactions,
Yes,
I'll
I'll
be able to refund on Monday.
Yes.
And which never happened. And she was actually also to add me some 50 shillings. Then I thought, well, it's not good to take everything from my daughter.
Yes.
Then I went. So here I'm at KNH. Then all the matatus are selling me from KNH to race course is
Right.
40.
Ah.
Here I have that. So I went to the first one, they throw me out. Go the second one, they throw me out. So the third one, I enter, I say, this is what I have, and mahali pesa yangu itaishia nishukishia. So I'm here. So people are wondering now, who is this bargaining with the 10 shillings, for 10 shillings?
Right.
At that time, and I'm sweating. I'm sweating there. My heart is beating, and nothing is happening. And so I'm here inside now, just there. So I tell the conductor, mahali pesa yangu itaishia nishukishia hapa. So people are wondering now, who is this fellow? Hata pesa hana. Kwani yeye ni mkora ama ni nani? So I'm there. I'm looking confused. I could see some funny glances, looking at me, and so we start the journey.
Wow.
We start the journey.
You are. This is a very tough journey.
Very tough journey.
You have no idea what you're going into.
No idea.
Everything has been, everything is hanging somewhere.
Yes.
Wow.
So we start the journey, and we reach the right corner. Then the guy tells me, pesa yako imeisha shuka.
Imagine.
So I'm there, I'm walking towards Ngando. And that time, I'm still calling my sister-in-law. Then she tells me, where are you? And from there, I make my way to Ngando, to a certain health center. When I just make my way there, I find my son just within the compound.
So this was a health center?
This was a health center.
Right.
I find it was run by the Kabrak nuns. And I find my son in the community compound there with the company of some other boys from the school. Then I tell him, okay, you just sit here. Let me go inside. I'm just coming back.
Right.
And at that time, there were a lot of people milling around that health center. Some of them wailing, others crying loudly, others not sure what to do. Media houses were around there. So by that time already, the gate was actually closed, the inner gate. And it was actually manned by armed policemen. And at that time, the list was already out for the deceased. So when I just make my way to the gate, then I was asked my name, and they said, I'm so and so, and that's so and so. And I was, by that time, my sister-in-law saw me. She came running.
Right.
She plowed herself onto me, hugged me. Then she said, and then actually she started sobbing. And then she said, this way. So at that time, I'm thinking, this way, what is this way?
So by this time, your sister is coming. Are you thinking my daughter is still alive? Or are you still hopeful?
I was still hoping on two things.
Yes.
She's either dead or fatally injured. Because there's no way she could have said what she said. Because as a psychologist, as a counselor, I could read from the tone of her voice.
Yes.
And even the way we have been communicating.
Yeah.
And I did not probe so much.
So your hope here is, I hope she is not dead.
My hope is
probably she's
either fatally injured or she's dead.
Wow.
So I was actually oscillating between the two.
Yes.
But I was saying, if she's alive, we thank God. If she's injured, we are good, she'll recover. If she has gone to be with the Lord, which was hard to fathom.
I know.
Because being the best girl in the school, being index number 001, having aspiration to be a medical doctor, we could not actually fathom. And the KCPE was a month too.
Yes.
We could not fathom that. Personally, I was devastated.
Right.
So here there's a doctor again. Then the doctor tells me, okay, just keep walking in this direction. So he holds my hand. then I know here things are tough. Because even from what is happening here, then I brace myself.
Right.
We enter inside. I was ushered into a particular room there, and the first victims that I saw were actually mutilated, badly mutilated, and I refused to
To a
look.
place somewhere, right?
Yeah, they were placed there. You could be able to see them, but then at the extreme left, at the